right, roll call, please.
President Eppeling,
Here.
Vice President Donato,
Here.
Mr. Piper,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mr. St. Clair,
Here.
Mr. Steele,
Here.
and Mr. Stepp.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, did anybody have any changes they would like to request for the meeting minutes? Okay, any comments, discrepancies, nothing? All right, I move to approve the meeting minutes from June 15th.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Welcome to the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. To everybody here, if you might speak, then please stand up and raise your right hand so that we can put you under oath. Do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the statements you'll make tonight are true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Okay, thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? No?
Nope.
All right, then we will roll on with case number 1, Reynolds Investment Properties, LLC, and take it away, staff.
So this is a request for variances to reduce the required tree replacement as well as to modify a rear landscape buffer for the property at 4400 Reynolds Drive. So you can see that located in the center of the image. To the north of the Rock City Church, and then on all other 3 sides are properties within the Hilliard Technology Park that are all zoned industrial within a limited overlay. This gives you a closer up view. So the issue you're dealing with primarily tonight is the tree replacement reduction. Last week, the proposed plans were heard by the Planning Commission. The site plan was approved by them. And this is what's proposed as 24,000 square foot flex industrial buildings that would have parking around, service area or corridor down the middle between the 2 buildings. And then to the west edge of the site would be the stormwater detention or retention. Just to give you an overview of just here's some images of the architecture that was proposed. The Planning Commission had a number of conditions in the record of action that was placed in your packet for reference. They submitted a tree survey and preservation plan within the packet. So they're looking to remove a number of inches off the site. By code, what's required is 1,084 inches of replacement. The code allows for a 50% reduction, and this should be similar to a lot of discussion that you heard with previous cases. So with a 50% reduction,
Do you want to try John's mic? Yeah. If you can pull it over.
With the 50% reduction, the required number of inches is 542. What is being proposed is a full reduction to 0 for the tree replacement. Based on some other applications that you've seen recently, the staff's recommending a 2/3 reduction, which would result in 81 inches of tree replacement. Also within this is a land use buffer variance to reduce the northern buffer from 25 feet to 20 feet. The staff feels that that is something that can easily be accomplished to do the required landscaping, but to do it in a slightly shorter buffer, considering the use of the parking lots to the north. We feel that that's appropriate. Last week, the Planning Commission approved the site plan with the 9 conditions as shown on the screen. One of those was to obtain the necessary variances from this board this evening. So with that, the commission felt that the site plan, as amended, adhered to the general requirements of the code. And with that, staff finds that the plans as amended would meet the general spirit and intent of the code, and the existing trees on the site have significant impact on the development potential for the property. So with that, we would recommend approval with the 3 conditions as noted on the screen.
Sorry, any questions for staff?
Yeah, I have just a couple. I noticed in your packet, it said heavy-duty pavement. What constitutes heavy-duty pavement? And I saw it on your first slide, in between the buildings, it said heavy-duty pavement.
Oh, in terms of the site plan, it's just the way it's constructed. It's noted on the plan. I believe that the service areas where you would have box trucks or heavier vehicles, they generally do a deeper pavement that, you know, can support the added weight.
So, does the city make any distinction between, these are all volunteer trees. They just came up on their own and grew wild. I mean, no one went out there and planted these trees. And the same thing when we had the case on Weaver Court. Those were all just volunteer trees. Does the city make any distinction when it's looking at replacing trees, if they're just wild trees that grew up on their own, or if they were planted with a purpose?
No, the code currently does not make a distinction. In some other past cases, we've noted instances where, you know, there were maybe dead or dying trees, you know, as far as your ability to factor in, you know, whether or not there should be added relief.
I get it, but in some cases, these trees just basically become weeds. I mean, they're just growing on their own, they're wild, and they're, you know, so anyway, you answered my question, thank you.
I have to talk to city council about that.
Yeah, okay.
Carson, the 90 trees you're recommending, you have any idea what will be on-site versus off-site?
At this point, we don't. Replacement trees are always above and beyond all of the other required, you know, code landscaping. Given this site, probably most of that would be, you know, not accomplishable on the site. We're basically looking at past precedent of what the board has approved in terms of reduction. And the most recent on Weaver Court was basically a 2/3 reduction of what the code required.
I guess I really don't compare. I mean, each property is different. I mean, each development is different. To go ahead and say, well, whatever we did on one property, to me, shouldn't have a huge amount of bearing on the other property, because depending on how it's built, I mean, if it can handle more trees, I think the city is better off utilizing as much new planting growth as we can. Is it staff's opinion that this site has as many trees as it can hold, or is it your opinion that that's what we did before, so that's what we're going to do again?
I think our intent is to provide as many trees as possible in a manner that's going to make them, you know, be survivable, not to plant them too closely so that they can grow in a healthy manner. But beyond that, yeah, it's really up to the board to look at whether, you know, you feel a reduction beyond that is necessary. We're looking at what's been done in the past in terms of, you know, how you look at a reduction, because it is subjective. If you're not going to follow the code, you know, how do you determine exactly what that magic number should be? So we're looking at, you know, how things have been done in the past. Usually, you know, if it can't be planted on site, you know, we're requesting that, you know, those inches be made available, you know, whether it's for street trees or in public parks or other places where those trees could be utilized effectively.
So the tree line that's following the road, all that is new planting material?
Correct, those are proposed street trees.
And then the trees that are on the property lines, I mean, are we saving any, or is everything new?
I believe based on the information that was submitted, they're intending to, you know, pretty much remove the entire site of trees and plant fresh.
Is the applicant here? All right, would one or both of you please Just one at a time, just state your name and address for the record, please.
Rich Ireland, 5600 Blazer Parkway.
Mike Abulaban, 4340 Lyman Drive.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? I guess my question is it accurate to say that your application wants a 100% reduction in the tree requirement or the replacement requirement, and that staff wants a 2/3 reduction, right?
It is, yes.
Why should it be 0 rather than, or 100% rather than 2/3?
So I'm with Dublin Building Systems. Mike is the developer, my client. Mr. St. Clair had a great point. So my father developed Hilliard Tech Park about 40 years ago. There were no trees. It was a farm field. A lot of these trees are not desirable, in my opinion. The landscape plan, the proposed plan, is very dense. It's our landscape architect's opinion that we won't be able to fit many tree replacement trees on the property. We would love to save some of the trees, especially adjacent to Rock City, but we're afraid, we get so close, we're gonna be within 20 feet, that we would eventually kill them. I think we'll still try to attempt to save any on that northern property line. And again, the landscape plan is very, very dense already without tree replacements included. So I would like to let Mike say a couple words.
Again, my name is Mike Abulaban. I moved to Hilliard in 2006, and my business is Cellucom. I had a location on Lakon Drive, and we just moved to a Lyman Drive about 4 years ago. I purchased this land for development and for investment, and obviously everybody's aware that the pricing on building and cost has been increased tremendously, in the last couple of years, and the lease rates has not changed. So with this, with this plan, we would appreciate, the city and the board help in this, because with last week meeting, we had to invest more money with the landscaping, and now it's required, for the planning to invest another $40,000 or $50,000 for additional trees. So on that cost, again, I would appreciate if we can, if you can guys help us out with this in regarding to reduce the trees, and as like what Rich mentioned, is this, we didn't plant these trees, and we just want to, investing more than $6 million for a product that Hilliard needs. And we've been working on this project since the beginning of the pandemic, and we put a hold on it because of everything else was happening. But with everything is going on, I think that will help us to move forward with this plan and everything that we're investing in it for a product that it's needed here in Hilliard.
Carson, would you mind bringing up the aerial of one of the earlier slides that showed the northern edge of the property? Yeah. So would there be any screening? It looked like from the architectural drawings, there would be some screening trees between the parking lot of Rock City Church and your development. Yes or no?
Yes.
So essentially, all these trees that appear in the middle, I don't have a pointer, but you want to eliminate those, and then parking lot and buildings and.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the slide that you had on, Carson, where it has the planned trees. Yes. That. Are these trees going all around it that are part of the plan?
It's hard, I'm sorry.
Correct. They're all being planted to meet either street tree requirements, adjacent land use buffering requirements, or vehicular use or service area screening requirements of the code.
do they not count as replacement?
No, no, replacement is above and beyond
Above and beyond what?
all of the other landscape code requirements.
Oh.
Okay, so they're,
So it's above and beyond the street trees? Is that correct?
No, so here's how it works. If this site has no trees on it now, what you're seeing would be probably what the landscaping would be proposed. Requirements for the size of the building, requirements for street trees, requirements for parking lot screening. So when you have trees that exist that are greater than 6 inches in caliber and you take them down, you're allowed, our code says you're supposed to preserve them, but if it's gonna be in an area where you're gonna develop with buildings or parking lots or that kind of stuff, then you can take them down. Or if it's an undesirable species, or if it's sick or diseased or dying or dead, you can take them down, but you have to replace them. So knowing that sites like this where there's a considerable number of caliper inches to be replaced, we think it's reasonable to give a reduction to that, but consistent with the number of sites that we've had over the years where they had a lot of trees, or had a few trees that were of such size that the replacement costs were excessive. So the balancing act is, how do you get the right number of trees on a site or for replacement, as opposed to say, hey, we just want to clear cut everything and just not plant anything.
but why is it that they cut out the trees and there's a cluster of them in the middle of the field, it looks like? They cut those out and they plant these trees all around, but the ones they plant all around don't count as replacements.
Because the ones that are planted all around are required for other things. And so you can't double count. You can't just say, all right, I've got a parking lot screening requirement, I got a buffer requirement if I'm adjacent to a different use, and a tree replacement requirement. One tree can't satisfy all three of those.
You could end up
So,
with a tree
so you're supposed to show the trees that you're supposed to have based on the building coverage, the screening requirements, and then replacement trees for things that you cut down are on top of that.
Okay, so in order for this plan to meet staff's standards or whatever, where would these replacement trees go?
Some would go on this property, some would go on other properties. And think about the ash trees that had to come down and all the street trees in other neighborhoods. They could be, so our code allows they can be planted on site or in a public property somewhere else, a replacement street
Fees
tree,
in lieu of.
or in a park, or that kind of thing.
A fee in lieu of,
No, I'm talking about tree in lieu of.
tree.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay.
But if that field was empty, then what we're looking at right now would probably be okay.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. But you gotta remember, the trees that are shown on there are shown at maturity. They're not that, I mean, it looks dense, but those sizes aren't how they're gonna be installed. So we work with our arborist who, based on the type of tree and the installation size of the tree, determines really how close you wanna be to other trees. So they're not all equal. So depending on that, there might be some species that can change out that you could fit more in, or, that kind of stuff. But
if we tell them that they have to add 90 trees to this plan, are they gonna pick less desirable trees so that they can fit them all in that area?
well, they have to be from one of a species from our approved tree list.
Oh, okay.
If the trees that are proposed here counted, has anybody run the calculations as to how close to what's the caliper of tree that's proposed on this current plan? Is that information contained within these documents?
Yes, yeah, 2.5 inch probably. I mean, if you could zoom in, I wish I counted the proposed trees
Yeah, I mean-
while I was standing here, but
Yes, that's my question.
probably about 50. I mean, there might even be a table that totals them. And you got to think about the future. If you're at home, I'm cutting trees down all the time because they're getting too close together. At 90 trees, it's $500 a tree. I know cost isn't supposed to be important, but that's, 45 grand. On top of that landscape plan, and our landscape architect really is thinking we can't squeeze many more trees on this.
So I'm interested, based upon John's last comment, that the trees that would be replacement trees would need to come from an approved list, correct? Okay. So I'd like to know, of the trees that are there that I said were volunteer trees, they just grew up on their own, of those trees, how many of those trees are on the approved list? Because if there's 20 of them that aren't approved, let's go ahead and get those out of here, and,
That would be up to you, but that's not how our code works, but that'd be up to you if you wanted to do that, that's fine.
I'm sympathetic to your cause. Those trees, you inherited those. It is what it is, but.
You could make a motion to approve the application.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I didn't bring my glasses, but I'll move to, on case BZA 23-14, to approve the applicant's, I didn't look at the, to approve a variance for the applicant on, I don't have my glasses.
Maybe I can be your glasses.
Yeah, section.
To approve a variance from Hilliard Code Section 1125.04I to reduce the number of required replacement tree caliper inches, and a variance from Section 1125.06 to reduce the required land use buffer distance from 25 feet to 20 feet, given the three conditions in the staff recommendation, provided, however, that under condition 2, the required tree replacement for the site is established at 0 caliper inches. Is that?
Thank you. That's why he's president.
I'll second that.
Mr. St. Clair?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Stepp?
Yes.
President Epling?
Yes.
Vice President Donato?
No.
Mr. Piper?
No.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Case 2, BZA 23-15, the Pittenger residence at 4282 Packard Drive. Take it away, staff.
This is a request to vary from the code requirements for the setbacks for recreational vehicles. So this is the site which is located on Packard Drive. And we've provided a copy of the code sections for you. What's requested is to reduce the required side yard. The code was recently updated, and it requires, I believe, a five-foot setback from the side property line. This is in one of the older neighborhoods, which creates some challenges, as noted in your report. So this gives you more of a close-up of the property in question at 4282. And so what is requested is a variance to allow the utility trailer to be parked within the required side yard. These are some images provided by the applicant. You can see on the screen, this is basically the property line running in between the two driveways. So they're pretty much at a 1 foot or less setback. These are older lots that are located within the Avery Road subdivision, so the lots are 60 feet wide. We've had a number of variance requests over the past couple years in terms of setback reduction to do building additions, to provide accessory structures, just because of the narrowness of the lots. These are post-war lots that were created in the 50s. This gives you an image of what's requested in terms of parking the utility trailer along the side of the house on the driveway, so it's really a setback issue. The trailer is located on an improved surface, which is required by code. It's just a matter of the setback requirement from the property line as well as the distance from the house. And again, because of the narrowness of the lots, these are, small post-war cottage, one-story cottages that don't allow for that width to occur. Staff finds that there could be beneficial use of the property without the variance. However, what's proposed is not substantial, and the lots that are created during this era provide a practical difficulty to be able to park things. And as amended below, the utility trailer will not impact the surrounding area. So with that, staff recommends approval of the proposed variances with the 2 conditions as noted.
Any questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Please state your name and address.
Joseph Pittenger, 4282 Packard Drive.
All right. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Do you have anything that you'd like to add to the staff's report?
I'd just like to say that I've lived here since 1999. My son started first grade here at 6 years old. He's 35 now. I've had a trailer in my driveway every day since. And I used to have, every time they got a new zoning officer, they always came by, and I ended up going to court. Last time I went to court with Candy, and I can't remember the prosecutor, and they always agreed I could have my trailer as long as the neighbor didn't complain. And I've got my neighbor here today. She doesn't mind it. I mean, the trailer you see on the street, that's my camping trailer. That's because we're going camping this weekend. So evidently that picture was taken this week.
Is that Thelma that you have with you? No, I'm on the wrong case, maybe.
Randy,
Oh,
or
no,
Hannah.
It's Thelma? Oh, it's a different neighbor that? Okay.
Because we're the one, her driveway's beside my driveway.
Okay.
Like I said, I've lived there since 99, and I've moved there with a trailer. I've had an enclosed trailer for my son's bike racing. He moved out, so I got me a trailer for my kayaks and motorcycle, and that's what it is, a 6x10 flat trailer.
Okay. Looks like your neighbor has a trailer too.
Yeah, and it doesn't bother me sitting there.
Okay.
This is a question for staff. Is the property overall in compliance with the requirements
In what aspect?
in any aspect? I mean, are there any violations or any concerns that have been brought up by the city on the property?
I'm not aware of any.
I mean, there may have been in the past, I'm not aware of any currently besides this one.
Okay.
Have you been given a copy of the staff recommendations concerning your application?
It's on the screen here.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, I've got that.
All right. Do you understand and agree, if we would approve this, that
Yeah,
these
it meets all
conditions are part of the approval?
Yeah, I mean, it meets both of those.
Is it a recreational vehicle?
It's a trailer. It's a utility
Is
trailer.
it the same thing under the code?
Under the code, yes, it falls under that section.
I mean, I don't know why. I've got other people that I spoke with on Facebook, and they said they've been told as long as they cover it up with a tarp, cover the wheels up, that they was told it was fine. I was never told that. Another one said that if nobody complained about it, they could have it. You know, there's, just on our street alone, there's like 9 trailers.
All right. Thank you.
But they're not here in front of us, so we'll.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're just the only 2 that was picked.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the variance under provisions of Hilliard Code Section 112105D to permit the parking of a recreational vehicle trailer within the required setbacks, with the recommendations listed from the staff report.
I'll second that.
Mr. Piper?
Yes?
Vice President Donato?
Yes.
President Epling?
Yes.
Mr. Stepp?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. St. Clair?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
No.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. On to case 3, the RIESER residence, 4272 Packard Drive. Oh, we've got 2 cases on Packard Drive.
So this is actually the adjacent neighbor.
The RV in the picture is next.
All right,
So this is the lot directly to the south, so lot 113 of the Avery Road subdivision. Again, this is a request for the same setback variances to the recreational code section. And of note, like we were talking about with the driveways, if you look at the properties, there's approximately 12 feet between the house and the property line in this case. When you look at the pavement in the driveway being 8 to 9 feet wide, these are clearly not your typical lots that are constructed during this time period. These are some examples of images that were provided by the applicant of the camper. And this is an image from earlier today, just to show you. So it's the same issue, the camper, which falls under the recreational vehicle section of the code, it does not have adequate setback from the house or from the side property line. Again, staff thinks that there can be beneficial use without the variance, however, it's not substantial, and given the post-war nature of the lot, and as amended below, the trailer will not impact the surrounding area, so staff would recommend approval of the variances with the 2 conditions.
okay. If anybody wants to interrupt me and make a motion, you are welcome to.
I got one quick question, and I should have asked it on the other one.
I tried.
Excuse me?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you have a question. I'm sorry.
Is there anything in the code about people residing in this camper
Yes, that's
days, weeks?
not allowed by code.
Huh?
That is not permitted by code.
Okay. I was curious.
This particular camper, is it over 11 feet?
No, we're basically putting that condition on there so that there is some limit. A typical camper is 10 to 11 feet in height. And that condition is in there so that we don't end up with a giant monster camper that, requires a larger vehicle to tow. One of the things that was pointed out in the report is that because of the nature of the lot, the camper that's there is basically about as big as you can get to actually park it back there. They can't physically turn it to get it behind the house to meet code requirements, which is why they've been parking it where it's at. And also with the fence at the property line, it's also extremely tight to back it up to actually get it to the accessory structure, the garage behind.
I noticed in another picture, there was a motorized RV in there. Would we allow those? Or is that has to be parked behind those houses, correct? It's down, it was looking down on the, keep going. Isn't that one there to the,
No, that's the same camper.
I apologize then, I'm sorry.
It's extremely difficult to get through the gate,
Yeah.
which is why, as they're using it during the season, they park it along the side of the house.
I'll go ahead and make a motion if nobody minds. To approve the variance under a provision of Hilliard Code Section 112105D to permit the parking of a recreational vehicle camper within the required setback with the 2 conditions listed on staff report. I'll second.
Mr. Stepp?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. St. Clair?
Yes?
Mr. Martin?
No.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Vice President Donato?
Yes.
President Epling?
Yes.
Motion carries.
He could come.
Yeah, if you want, come up to the podium.
Hate to interrupt.
So the second point, I guess,
Setback.
yeah, it can't come in front of the house. So how's it parked now? Is that okay? Because it technically does come above the house a little bit.
Who is this person?
This is Hannah RIESER, 4272 Packard. Like if you go back again,
Saying like the trailer hitch is out in front of the house?
yeah, it's like 2 or 3 feet above the front of the house. It doesn't come,
The-
I mean,
The variance that we granted permits the parking of a recreational vehicle camper within required setbacks. I don't think there's a line that we're drawing, right? You know, so many feet that you can go into it.
The condition in the report's generally to keep it, behind the front elevation of the house.
Yeah, just so it wouldn't be in the front.
oh, I thought it was front of the house. I got you. Sure, okay.
What you're saying, it sticks out a couple feet in front of the house.
Yeah.
If the front of the camper is even with the front of the house, and you've got a hitch that sticks out 2 feet, that's not a problem. It's really the camper part.
Well, the camper part is still a little bit in front of the house, but it's,
I didn't hear that. I think you said the camper is right even with that.
Take it and go on.
it does come out a little bit further, but it's,
No, you're wrong. See, I can tell right there. It's right there even with
Go
that.
back again.
Didn't we see a picture of it parked toward the back of the house?
Yeah, so when I winterize it, I do put it back there.
Okay.
But it's, like you said, it's kind of complicated to get back there. So when we camp, I don't want to park it back there every single time, because we go every weekend, every other weekend. So during like May through October, I keep it like that. And then once I winterize it, I put it behind the fence, because I only have to do it
Well,
once.
there's a fence back there that keeps you from, okay.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
What we've approved has the front of the camper aligned with the front of the home.
Sure.
So
If-
that's your question. That's our answer.
So my question is, since it doesn't, it comes out a couple feet, am I gonna get another?
Probably. No, is that because of the fence behind it?
Yeah. Yeah, my fence opens this way, so I can't open it if I put that right up against it. If you go back another picture, you can see what I'm talking about. Go again, I'm sorry. The one with the Mickey Mouse in the front of the yard is the picture I'm talking about.
Halloween picture.
No,
We can see the fence there.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So if you go forward a couple pictures, you'll see what I mean. No, that's back.
Other way.
That's the fence.
Keep going.
One more.
Is that?
Keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. Right there, the one on the left, my left. You can see how it comes out a little bit further than the house.
So the build line's gonna be the patio, right?
Yeah, if it's the patio, then that's fine.
No, the build.
The structure.
It's the structure.
It's the face of the house. Yes, the face of the house. What this says.
Since we're all here, shouldn't we adjust this?
That's up to us.
You.
Well, I'm saying, did she apply, is there some other something else she has to apply for to move it beyond the house, or can we just cover that now?
I would say it's part of this
Part of this,
review. If you want to
okay.
reconsider it, you can, or redo a motion or whatever.
You want to amend your motion?
Yeah, so how many feet does it stick out when you put if you put it against the fence?
If I butt it up right against the fence, it probably doesn't. But then I'm not able to open my fence. Yeah.
I guess he needs to have a number of feet that it can go past
far in
the
front
front of the
are you?
house, so that we can build that into this variance.
Oh, how far does it, probably like 3, 3 feet. Yeah.
3 feet, okay.
3 feet?
All right, so I'm going to amend BZA 2317, nope, wrong one. 2316 for the RIESER residence, to approve the variance from Hilliard Code Section 112105D to permit the parking of a recreational vehicle within the required setbacks with the 2 conditions listed as staff report, giving them the ability to park that up to 3 feet in front of the build line.
Second.
Wait, who seconded? Okay. All right, okay. So we go through and revote?
Build line or the face of the building?
The face of the building.
Okay.
That should resolve your issue.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make
We
sure.
haven't
You
voted yet.
revote on that, right?
Okay.
Yes, I think we should.
Okay. Mr. Piper,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. St. Clair,
Yes.
Mr. Steele,
Yes.
Mr. Stepp,
Yes.
President Epling,
Yes.
Vice President Donato.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Case 4, the Ritchie residence on Alicia's Way. Take it away, staff.
All right, so this case is about a residential property that is 0.267 acres. It's located in the Estates at Hoffman Farm subdivision, Section 5, lot number 305. And they are asking for a variance to reduce the required side yard setback for a paved area associated with a swimming pool from 10 feet to 5 feet. This is just the general site location where the site is within the subdivision. And then here's a close-up aerial of the site. This is the site looking south. This is the general area where they're proposing to build the paved surface and pool. And then this is the site looking north. They have a 5-foot utility easement on the north property line, but it would not interfere with where the paved area and pool are being built. And then this is the site looking west, looking toward the house. And then this is looking toward the east of the rear property line. There is a 20-foot wide stormwater management easement along the rear of the lot, but again, it will not interfere with the paved surface or pool. This is a little site diagram that shows where the stormwater management easement is and where the 5-foot utility easement is as well. And then here is a proposal of where they plan on building the paved surface and pool area. And it meets all requirements except the paved surface area is supposed to be 10 feet from the side yard line, but it's currently only 5 feet and 2 inches away from it. So they're requesting a variance to get it reduced. And then they will also have an approved pool cover so that they will not have to have a fence required. And staff finds that the proposed variance is not substantial and would not alter the central character of the neighborhood, and that it's generally consistent with the spirit of the zoning code in the approved PUD plan. So we recommend approval with the following conditions as shown on the screen.
All right, any questions for staff?
Yes. The picture that showed the swing set in the trees, are those, the swing set in the trees within that stormwater easement, or is that on the adjacent property, or is that in front of the stormwater easement?
So I do believe that that is within the stormwater management easement, but I did not specifically measure it. If that makes sense.
I'm familiar with stormwater management easements, and there's usually a depression in the ground, and I don't see that. Okay. Okay. So the trees are in the easement?
You can't ask him a question yet.
Okay. So, but, and none of that is in play. With the variance that we're talking about is to the side, not the back.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, those, so the paved area is not, it's, you can see even the closest distance is 21 feet and 6 inches from the paved area, so that's not in the stormwater management easement.
Right.
And there is a 30-foot rear setback line, but that doesn't count with the paved area since it's at grade.
So, and we're in compliance on the back and the side on the left, but it's the side on the right is the required variance.
Correct.
Okay.
And on the side, the pool meets. It has to be at least 10 feet away, and it's 10 feet 7 inches. But it's just the paved area associated with the pool that doesn't meet. And also, if it were just a paved area with no pool, it would only be required to be 3 feet away from the side property line.
Just a paved area with no pool, it requires only 3.
If it was a patio with no pool, a patio can be 3 feet to the property line, but when it's next to a pool, it's a bigger setback.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Are you Mr. Ritchie? All right, please come up. State your name and address, please.
Patrick Ritchie, 4502 Alicia's Way.
Any questions for the applicant?
Do you agree to the staff recommendations and conditions that are on here?
Yes. Only difference is we're gonna put a fence still, even with how many kids we have running around, even though we're doing the automatic cover, just double safety. I know that's not even, we'll apply for that when that comes through, but I know you had mentioned with the auto cover, technically don't need it, but for safe, that's our number one fear with all those kids running around our neighborhood, kid falling in the pool, drowning, so we're gonna do both.
You say you're going to add a fence at a later date?
Correct.
Okay.
We had to get this solved first, and then the fence was a process in the Hoffman Farms HOA. So we've got that sorted out, thank goodness.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion, case of BZA 2317, Ritchie residents, to approve a variance under Hilliard Code, section 112106, F4C, to reduce the required side yard setback for a pavement associated with a swimming pool from 10 feet to 5 feet, with the 2 conditions recommended by staff.
I'll second.
Mr. Stepp?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. St. Clair?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Vice President Donato? President Epling?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Any communications from staff? Okay. We have cases for next month? Okay. All right. I move to adjourn. Any second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.
Opposed, stay here.